What's going on, everybody? So Attack on Titan has finally ended. A series 10 years in the making has finally concluded, and man, was it a finale. I wanted to jump on here and kind of give my thoughts and feelings, reactions to the finale. It was one hell of a finale. I mean, for an hour-long episode, it hit every single beat. Every single moment you wanted was there. And it wasn't necessarily a finale I expected or maybe even wanted, but it was the perfect one for this story. Going into watching Attack on Titan 2-3 years ago, I had this idea of, this is how the story is going to end. This is what's going to happen. And every season, my expectations were thrown away. I expected the humans versus the Titans, and, that happened and whatever. But it turned into something so much more than just that. And I think season 3 is that real turning point where I'm like, okay, I had no idea where this was going, and I don't think anyone did. And that's the beauty of it all. So when we get to this moment at the end and you think back to everything that happened prior, it's this moment of gratification and satisfaction, yet emptiness and sadness because, this journey's over. This journey that we started, or that started 10 years ago, 10 plus maybe, has finally ended. And it ended in every way possible, I think. From the start of this episode, it started just to tie up all the loose ends, all the stories that we wanted to see finished of every character. So Eren, Armin, Mikasa, and everyone else, Reina, Annie. Everybody's story had a conclusion to it. Yes, their lives go on. I think of it kind of like Star Wars Return of the Jedi. There's still war, there's still stuff that goes on after, but for the main storyline, it's over. Would I have loved another hour, 30 minutes maybe, of the post-rumbling world and seeing all these characters, continue to try to live their lives or start new lives? Absolutely, I would have loved that. I think they're coming out with a new volume 35, that maybe will do that. But for the main story, it's over, and I couldn't have asked for more. Sure, I wanted that extra 30 minutes, but as for an episode and as for the story, it wrapped up perfectly. This hour-long episode picked up where the last left off with the new squad with Armin and Mikasa as the leads, with Levi and Peak and Reina and all them attacking Eren. And I want to first say that I love that this was an hour and 30-minute episode compared to 4 or 5 24-minute episodes, which would have just killed me having to wait week by week to see what's next. But picking up where we left off was, what we all expected. And the fight was everything it was supposed to be. We have them going against Eren and all these past Titan users, which I didn't expect at all. I was like, that is just an amazing idea to have this finale having everything from the prior history of it all coming together in one moment to fight this one epic battle. So that was just an amazing choice. And just seeing like Titans and other characters from the past all come together in this one moment was beautiful. When I talk about, chapters and doors closing for characters and everybody getting the proper send-off, a moment that just encapsulates that so well is that moment where Eren and Zeke are talking, and then all the past Titan shifters that we know, so Grisha, Amir, Marco, Porco, all of them coming back for this one final battle was just something I didn't expect, and I think did a lot for their story. From the beginning of most of their stories, they were kind of set up in a way where, life wasn't on their side, if you will. And they went through it. And being a Titan shifter isn't anywhere ideal in any manner. So them having this moment where they can assist in the battle and, help make things right for the future so no one has to suffer like they do. That was just something I didn't expect. I think they nailed on the head. Amazing writing there because it just felt like a closure to their stories where maybe we didn't see that closure before with Amir and Porco having that terrible send-off. And it's like now they have this proper send-off to their characters. Speaking of proper send-offs, every character had that. And even past characters having their ideals and spirits represented. So when Levi sees, the past scouts in like this vision, he was finally able to honor them, all that they fought for, all that they sacrificed, and he was able to finally finish his task that was given by Erwin by killing the Beast Titan or Zeke. And that was just a very powerful moment there, something that we've been waiting for since season 3. So to finally see Levi get that rewarding moment, get that kill, and for Zeke's character arc to finally come to a conclusion after all this time, it was just so well executed there. And then you see Connie and Sasha seeing, not Connie and Sasha, Connie and John seeing Sasha. And that moment, again, just hit so hard. They did it for her, and they were able to honor her in that way. But that final fight, I mean, there were just so many rewarding moments there. And then obviously we have Annie, Falco, and Gabby showing up again. And that moment was pretty great because I thought their story kind of finished towards that end of the last episode where they go off on a boat. But having them come back just felt right. Rhina had an amazing ending to his character. You know, he was a badass in that final episode. He was a badass. He was just taking all the heavy hits. Him and Jean just felt like they were just getting beat up and constantly just going back into battle. And Rhina held his own at the end. And he was a character that I loved since, I guess, I don't know, season 3. You know, you hated him up until that moment where he reveals himself and you realize how much he's been through and why he did it all. And he's been one of my favorite characters since, I guess, maybe the start of season 4 in that sense. So to finally see his story just conclude, he doesn't have to go through the suffering anymore, and he could just go and try to make things right with Armin and everyone else. That just felt so perfect. And then we had Armin versus Eren. God, that moment, that fight was, one, really sick. They're two colossals, basically. But that moment where Armin and Eren shared that conversation was some of the most heart-wrenching and just, you know, emotional things from this finale. I think that conversation was great. I saw the manga panel, and I think they did it 10 times better in the anime, surprisingly, I guess for once, as manga readers would say. But it was just a beautiful moment. That conversation was everything we needed for their final conversation. And I wanted to say, I mean, this is, Attack on Titan, I guess, has always been Eren's story. But at the end, it felt like it was more Mikasa's and Armin's, I guess. I was surprised how little dialogue Eren had, but it makes sense. And when he did have dialogue, they hit hard. They really did. And, you know, there wasn't a lot of dialogue for Eren, but definitely makes sense watching the episode. Because I feel like there was nothing more for him to say than what he did in the episode. Yeah, that final fight and that conversation between him and Armin, beautiful. And then quickly, I do want to talk about the rumbling. It was one of the most horrific anime sequences and moments throughout the many episodes we did see it, and mostly in this final one. I mean, there's that moment where they're all at that cliffside, the water's underneath, there's rocks, boulders in the water, and you just have people falling because it's just so jam-packed, so crowded at that cliffside, and there's nothing left for them. They're at the edge of the earth, basically, in their eyes, and they have these giant colossal titans walking towards them, and you see these people just raising this baby, pushing him forward to protect him. And I guess it says something about life itself, that sometimes there are things greater than oneself. And that moment was just horrific, terrifying, and just really depicted in just a horrifying way. And just the rumbling in general, killing 80% of humanity. I mean, when you really think about it, it's just a lot to take in. And I'm just still so surprised the rumbling ended up happening. But it was animated so well in a way where it just, you know, hurts your gut, hurts your heart, and it's just terrible to watch. And then we have Mikasa killing Eren. It finally happened. Oh man, that hit. That hit hard. It was so swift, so quick, and it's just a moment where it's like, oh, it happened. It hit really hard. I mean, this is a guy you followed for 90-something episodes now. Someone that you either supported at the end or didn't. But for the main character of a series to go off the way he did, it hits. It hit really hard, and it wasn't something I expected from the beginning. It's something I even didn't expect towards the end until I got it spoiled, unfortunately. But it was a beautiful finale for Eren. It really was. Even in that last moment, you know, Mikasa's just about to cut off the head, and you see Eren opening his eyes, looking at her one more time before she cuts off the head. And the kiss, it was awkward. I could have done without that, but I also heard from TikTok that, you know, the human head has 2 minutes of consciousness. Whether that's true or not. If that is true, I mean, I guess Eren felt that, but if not, I mean, it was just an awkward moment, and maybe we didn't need that, or at least I didn't. But as for the end of Eren's character arc and journey, it went every way it should have, but maybe I didn't want it to. Of course, I wanted the perfect, happy ending, but that's not what Attack on Titan was. It was never a perfect, happy story. It was a story about war, suffering, bloodshed, and a cycle. And I guess Eren kind of lives forever because the cycle always goes back or the story continues, but it's just sad knowing that that's the character's finale, that's the character's death, but also rewarding in a way, if that makes any sense. But I think the characters that had it the hardest in my eyes were Levi and Mikasa. I think for Levi, from the moment we meet him, he has had nothing but suffering in his life, and that's something that continues. You know, he meets friends, he meets comrades, and they continue to die until that number dwindles down to fewer and fewer comrades until he's one of the final scouts and carrying out missions and tasks that were set by those before him, until, you know, he finally finishes what he set off to do in the beginning, I guess, or not even what he set off to do, but, you know, what he pledged himself to by being a scout. And he finally finished, you know, the end of the Titans, if you will. And now he goes home, he's injured, crippled, and has nothing. There's nothing left for him. All his comrades are dead, or most of them. And he goes home to a different world, and, you know, what's left for him? And I just think about that, and it just makes me sad. I don't know. He's someone we've rooted for since season 1, and we just wanted to see the best for him, and now he goes home to nothing, to a new world, and, you know, everything that he once knew is kind of gone in a way, and I don't know. It's just something to think about, and that one just hits me. I'm like, dang, Levi really has little to nothing now. And then Mikasa obviously losing Eren, losing the love of her life, her best friend, and having to move on, but also at the same time, could she move on? And that final moment with the tree and the bird and all that, it hit really hard. And she really, I mean, did she deserve any of this? Absolutely not. But it's the reality of it all, I guess. It's a really sad ending, but beautiful at the same time. I love the idea of the tree and then the bird coming down, or Eren as a bird coming down, tying that scarf around her. That final line of dialogue hits so hard. And it was just, you know, a beautiful ending. Sad, yet beautiful at the same time. An amazing way to conclude the story of Attack on Titan, or the main story. I don't know if we'll have more in the future. And then we see that tree live on for another 2,000 years, and the cycle of war continues. Titans are no longer, but war continues, and I think that's kind of the message of it all. And I think it also leaves it open for interpretation of what comes next after that boy walks into that tree. But it was a beautiful finale, and I think when you look back to the beginning of the series, everything just flows so beautifully. And Eren did accomplish his goal. I think it was the first or second episode, he pledged to eliminate all the Titans from the world. And he accomplished his goal. Did it go the way he hoped? Absolutely not. I don't think it went the way anyone hoped. But he did what he set out to do from that first episode. Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful finale. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm still, you know, getting over it, because it was a lot to take in. Also seeing Armin, Annie, Rhaina, Pieck traveling to spread their ideals and their message about the world, and, you know, them being able to live longer lives because of Eren, is just really rewarding and very comforting to know that, you know, they don't have to live with the consequences of being shifters anymore. They could live long, full lives and have, you know, families and grow old. That's something they couldn't do before. And then for Falco and Gabby, they no longer have to be children of destruction and war. They could rebuild and, you know, grow instead of destroy. And I think that's something that's very beautiful. But yeah, this finale was perfect. It was amazing in so many ways, and maybe not in so many ways, but that's the beauty of it all. From the animation to the music to the story, it has all been superb, and this final episode delivered that as well. Some emotional soundtracks and just some gorgeous animation, mostly with like the ODM gear and the fights. I mean, I couldn't have asked for more. I really couldn't have. And for it to finally come to a close, it's still a lot to take in. It still hits, but I think it really is the perfect finale for this story. And circling back to Mikasa, I think, you know, I would have loved that Mikasa and Eren ending where they go off to the cabin, running away from everything, living out, you know, Eren's life for the next couple years, and him just dying as a shifter. Would I have loved that? Absolutely, I would have loved that, because I feel like that would have been the story and ending I wanted. It would have been a beautiful ending for their two relationship. But unfortunately, that was never the story of Attack on Titan. The story was never that of peace and beauty. It was that of war and destruction and the endless cycle. And I think the ending we got was the most fitting for this story that we have been following. And I think, you know, looking back and just being able to go back and rewatch it all, you know, there will be this newfound appreciation for it all now, knowing the finale and seeing it come true. And as I said probably many times this video, this story was beautiful, and it was everything I wanted from Attack on Titan without even knowing I wanted it. And now it's finally concluded, which is very weird to say, but it's a story that will continue on for generations, one that will live forever. And it's just one of my favorite stories ever told, one that has inspired me in my own work, and I think inspired a lot of people and will continue to inspire. And it was just, I don't know, an amazing story. And it's just sad that it's over, but also rewarding in that way that we got to see it finally come to that conclusion. And man, it was one journey. It was one hell of a journey, and one that I won't forget and will continue to rewatch. And yeah, Attack on Titan was great. But let me know what you guys thought about the ending, the finale, the series as a whole. Did you guys like it? Did you guys like what the anime did? Kind of different from the manga? And yeah, I guess that's it for Attack on Titan in this review.